In this video, I'm going to show you how you can add custom business logic to your Hasura GraphQL API through the use of actions. Actions are basically custom GraphQL queries and mutations which you can define and then add to your schema, and then write the code which implements their behavior. So in this way, this might be much more familiar if you're used to writing traditional REST APIs, where you define an endpoint and its inputs and its outputs, and then you write the code for it. The way actions work in Hasura is very similar to events, which I demonstrated in the previous video. So we learned that Hasura allows you to define an event trigger, and then you specify a webhook URL, and Hasura will call that endpoint when the event is triggered, and then it's your responsibility to actually implement that endpoint with some custom business logic that you want to be executed. So we had to set up a separate REST API and then configure Hasura to point to it and call certain endpoints on certain events. And actions work in a very similar way. So for that reason, if you want to follow along with these examples, you'll need to have gone through the previous video where we set up that API first of all. The worked example that I'm going to use as a demonstration of actions in this video is a feature that I want to add to my blog, which is the ability for users to archive old posts. The idea is that I'd like them to be able to, with one click of a button, set all of the blog posts which are older than a certain age, let's say older than a year, to be unpublished. And because I'd like to encapsulate that into one single action, and perhaps I want to write some custom SQL to make sure that it's nice and efficient, this is a good example of where we might want to write a custom action to archive these posts. So that's the example I'll use, but just as a side note, I should point out that I think the API that Hasura has already generated for us actually already makes this task possible. So we could probably do it quite efficiently without having to write a custom action. But just bear in mind that it's kind of a teaching exercise to show you how actions work. And that in the future, you may well encounter situations where you have some much more complex logic, or perhaps something involving transactions or something, some low-level SQL queries that you can't possibly do through the existing API. Or maybe you have other requirements, like perhaps you need to write some business logic that is then going to call through to a third-party provider, like a payment provider or something like that. There's all sorts of reasons why you would actually want to write custom business logic for actions. So just treat this as an example, just to demonstrate how they work. To get started, we'll switch to our Hasura console, and as you might have guessed, we're going to click Actions and click create a new one, and let's see what we get. So actions are a bit different from events because we are adding something new to our GraphQL schema that's going to sit alongside all the queries and mutations that Hasura had already generated for us. So we have to think about what we want that to look like. In our case, we're archiving these posts, which means it does modify the state of the database, which means in GraphQL terminology, that has to be a mutation. So we don't want it to be a query. And you can see that Hasura allows us to define it using GraphQL syntax. So what are we going to call it? Well, I'm going to call it archive posts. I'm going to stick with underscores because that keeps it consistent with the auto-generated API. And then you can see that we can define our input arguments. So in this case, I'm just going to pass in the age that posts have to be before they get archived. So I'm going to call that age in seconds, so that I can just pass in whatever. So if I want to archive everything older than a year, I just pass in whatever a year is in seconds. That's an int. Put the exclamation mark, which means that it's a required input. And then I can specify the output type. Now, one caveat here is that for some reason, Hasura does not allow you to return primitive types from your custom actions. So let's say that I wanted to return, I don't know, the number of posts which were archived. It won't allow you to do this. You actually have to return a structure which then contains the fields that you wanted. So instead, I'll have to define something called, let's call it archive posts output. And then down here, we can define additional types that kind of support our mutation or query definition. As you can see, there's already a sample there, but I'm going to change it to this, and then let's put just put count and put that as an int. You can also see this sample of an input structure, and that would be useful if you wanted to pass an object in as your input here. You might want to define that as a more complex type. But in my case, I've only got one input and it's just an integer, so I'm not going to bother with that. So for me, that's it. I'm saying that I want to define a mutation called archive posts. It takes age in seconds as an integer input, and it's going to return one of these things, which is this right here, and it contains a single int variable called count. Let's see what else we have then. So now, just like the events, we have to specify the handler. For some reason, Hasura knows to put the Docker internal thing this time. So if you recall from the last video, our server was on port 8000. And let's give the handler a name. So let's just put archive posts. That can be whatever we want. Obviously, we just need to make sure we implement the corresponding. Now, for some reason, that bit of a UI bug there. You can't see the S, but I've put archive posts there with an S. We just need to make sure that we implement the endpoint with the corresponding name on our server. We can choose if it's synchronous or asynchronous. So if it's synchronous, that means that when we call this mutation, it's going to wait for our code to execute before returning. And that's going to be necessary, I think, for anything that returns a value, which ours does. And generally, you probably will want things to be synchronous so that you know when they're done, unless they are some long-running job that you're just triggering and then just sort of firing and then forgetting. Like events, we can also add headers. So again, in a production environment, you probably want to add an API key or something like that. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. So let's create our action. So what we'll find is that this archive posts should now have been added to the API. Obviously, it won't do anything yet, but just to show you that it's there, we can go mutation, and we can now go archive posts, and you'll see that it knows, I forgot to pluralize seconds. That's my mistake. I'll keep that as it is, but I meant to put age in second. And then what can we return from this? Will obviously count as specified by us. So that's how the mutation that we've just described is going to be used by the front end or whatever. Next job is to implement the actual logic behind this. So we need to go to our server code, which in the previous video I showed was in index.js in the back end. There was all our code for our events that we wrote in the last video. And so we're just going to add another endpoint where we're going to implement this logic. So app.post, I'm just going to copy the event. Sorry, copy the handler endpoint just to make sure that I've got that right. 5 posts. And let's do the same as before, and for now, just console log the request body, and let's have a look at what we get. So I'll get the server up and running with npm start. Switch back to the console, and I guess we could just go ahead and run this query and see what happens. So now, unlike with the events where the actual query worked, but the event had potentially failed in the background, these are synchronous. And that's why we're seeing this, because we haven't bothered returning anything from our server yet. The actual action is waiting on that, and eventually it's going to time out and fail. And now in the logs, we can see the input shape that we get from Hasura. It's really simple. Basically, it's just got everything you would need. It's got this input object here, which contains all of our input variables. We only have one, and it's age in second. So that's what we're going to use as part of our query. So I think we're all ready to go and actually implement the SQL. Let's start by going to steal, nope, too far. Going to steal the a line from there to set up the SQLized client so that we can send some SQL to the database. We also want to get our age in seconds. So I'm going to get that from our age in second, as I've put, get that from the request body dot input. So i.e. This thing here, get age from second from this thing here. And now I can just call sequelize and pass in the SQL. So basically what I'm doing is I want to update the blog post table, and I want to set is published to false where the date on the table is less than, now it's a bit of fiddly logic that I worked out here, now minus, and then basically, so the current date minus whatever number of seconds was passed in here. And I figured this out before the video. I didn't know this, it's Postgres stuff, but you can do it with this interval thing. Oops. So that basically means take this variable and treat it as a time interval in seconds, and then that allows you to subtract it from the current date and time. So we now just need to pass in this variable, the age in second variable. That's it in terms of functionality. Now let's think about the response. So first of all, we know that we want to send 200 so that Hasura knows that it was successful. But also, this time we want to return some data, because we said we were going to return the count, that is the number of posts which were archived. And of course, we need to do that in a manner which Hasura is going to understand. As always, we can refer to the documentation. So this is the documentation you want to be looking at if you need to get some more detail. But essentially, all this says is, in order to return data through the GraphQL API, you just need to return a JSON object that matches the same shape. So our response, if you recall, just had a single field called count, and it was going to be the number of posts that had been archived. So we just have to return something that looks exactly the same. And you do that like this in Express. So it's going to be count, and then whatever the count was. So that's the shape. Now we just need to figure out where we're going to get this count from. And again, I'm not trying to teach you sequelize, so I'll just tell you where that comes from, because I've checked it out myself. And the way you can do it is like this. You can get the result, but also some metadata from sequelize. And this metadata object contains the row count. So that's how I'm going to implement it here. Great, so that should be a completed implementation. So let's stop the server, restart it. Oops. And oh, I forgot to make this async. So you'll want to avoid that if you do the same thing. And now back to the console so we can test the endpoint. Now, in terms of the age, I originally said a year, but of course I don't have any posts as old as a year yet, so I'm actually going to choose a different number just for testing purposes. And also, I don't have many published posts, so you might want to do something similar, set up some test data so that you can test it for yourself. I'm going to go and let's edit a couple of these and publish them, because we want to see them become unpublished in a moment. So let's edit those two. There we go. So now that means I've got a couple of published posts. Let's get some more rows showing. And as it happens for me, that's actually almost a week ago, whereas I've also got some posts. So let's also make some posts from, that's yesterday for me. Let's set some of these as true as well. So what I'm expecting is that if I go and archive the posts that are all older than, let's say, 3 days, I'm expecting this one here, which was last week, I'm expecting that to become unpublished. So this is published should become false. But this one here, which was only yesterday, I'm expecting that one to remain true. And these two should become false as well. So let's go ahead and test it and see what happens. I've already worked out that 3 days in seconds is this. So I'll run that. So far so good. It reckons it affected 8. This is perhaps slightly misleading actually, because it's not the number of posts that were archived, but it was the number of posts which met the criteria in terms of age. They may have already been unpublished, so actually not a great implementation, but again, it's just a learning exercise. Let's go to my data. Let's have a look at my blog posts. And what I'm hoping to see, it looks like it's worked quite nicely. I've only got one that's published, and that was the one from yesterday. All the others are unpublished, so that's worked really nicely. What's also really cool is that you'll find all of this stuff will have appeared in the activity log, because even though you changed the publish state via a SQL query, the events will still get triggered. So by archiving these posts, it will generate unpublished events for all of them. So everything works together quite nicely. Anyway, that's it for actions. I think we covered most of the complexity in the previous video with events, so that was a nice quick video. But the next big topic I'm going to cover is authentication. There's quite a few videos that touch on the various features of that. So I'm going to show you how you can authenticate yourself using Auth0, but the same applies to any authentication provider, and how to integrate that with Hasura. If you enjoyed this video and would like to help us to make more, please click the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.